here we go. All right, you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I have a very special guest with me who is going to be discussing the topic of limiting beliefs and how it's preventing us from reaching our full potential. So before we dive into this topic, I'm going to give her a chance to introduce herself. So go right ahead and do it.
Hey, hello everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sarah Lynnette, and I'm a women's empowerment and mindset coach. And what I do is I help women to help heal emotional trauma, regain emotional control, find that balance, and reclaim their power. Because I feel like knowing that you have, loving yourself and creating that positive mindset really gives you the power to create the life that you desire and to create the woman that you want to be.
I love that. I too really focus on women empowerment. I feel like it is so important, especially for women in general, to just support and uplift one another, especially in a society where we're kind of taught to be pitted against each other. I feel like it's so important that we really do our part as individuals to really uplift each other, support each other, empower each other, and whatnot. So I really love that is like your foundation for who you are.
Thank you. I mean, no, I absolutely agree because you're right. They do teach us to compete when really we complete each other. That's one of the things that we say in my clubhouse room. Yeah, because when I heard it, I was like, exactly, because if we heal ourselves, we have the power to heal other women around us. And women are the most, no offense, guys, the most powerful beings literally on the planet with the the ability to literally heal politics, heal, wars, heal children. Like we're raising the generations to come. And everyone that we come in contact with is affected by how we view ourselves and how we treat ourselves. We teach other people how to love themselves. It's important.
Right. I love that. And I love that saying that we complete each other. I'm going to steal that just so you know. So
Have
if
at
you
it.
see it floating around my social media and stuff, just know your girl took it from you.
I'm a double tap. I'm gonna love it though.
Alrighty then. So you ready to get into this whole topic?
Yes, yes.
Alrighty. So I guess before we really dive into it, why don't you let people know what is a limiting belief?
Okay. So beliefs at the most flat layman's term definition are thoughts that we decided were true. So we have those reoccurring thoughts in our mind, and especially through childhood, different things can happen to you that make you kind of dim your light. Because when you're born, you know that you're brilliant, you know that you're amazing. You're not worried about judgment. You're not worried about what people think about you or anything like that. It's not until someone kind of tells you to simmer down or water down your light or kind of calm down. Don't talk as much. Don't shine as bright. Don't sing and dance, smile less. And that kind of teaches you, like, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to be a part of this family and this environment, I'm going to have to behave or move a little bit differently. That's not acceptable. If I continue doing that, I might not get the love and the appreciation that it is that I'm looking for. And so it teaches you that that's a safe way to be. It's like a protection mechanism. So limiting beliefs are as you continue to grow and you hold on to those beliefs and you still tell yourself that that's the safest way and the most efficient way to live. Then that's how you do. That's how you choose. It's your default setting, but it kind of can block you. And so limiting beliefs are literally their limits. It's like a glass ceiling that stops you from achieving things that you want to achieve, but in reality, no one else is stopping you but you. It's like a mental prison. Limiting beliefs, mental prison. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. Something you said that I really resonate with, which actually, and I'm kind of low key embarrassed to admit it, but I feel like it happens to the best of us. It took me a really long time to understand this, though, is that we're not born knowing what our flaws are. We're not born thinking that we're incapable of doing anything. We're not born thinking that we're not worthy or anything like that. It's like you said, we are born knowing and believing that we are great. And it's not until somebody else points out something about you that they don't see in themselves and they choose to flip it, that we then begin to start thinking wait, am I good enough for this? Am I worthy? Can I do this? I think that's so important for us to be able to highlight within this whole entire conversation. And if there's anything else you guys get out of this video, I hope it's that, the limiting beliefs that we're going to talk about, and then the many others that, you probably have within yourselves that, you either you're aware of, if you're not aware of, they're all things that are deeply rooted out of the fear of you not being good enough because somebody told you that you weren't. They're not things that are true about you. They're just things that you have told yourself are true about yourself because somebody else said they were about you because they didn't see that truth in them.
You better say that. That's exactly right. And then for those of you that I know are like, well, nobody told me that. It doesn't necessarily have to be verbally expressed. It could be the way they treat you or the way you observed someone else being treated, where you saw it from a third party and was like, ugh, that's terrible. I don't want that to happen to me. So let me go ahead and adjust.
Right. That is true too. I always say be mindful of the company you keep because, just because somebody, is one way to you when you first meet them and for the first couple of years and stuff like that, relationships have a certain dynamic to them. And it's not just like intimate relationships, but like friendships, like the relationship you have with your mother and whatnot. And all it takes is one situation that's going to rock both of your worlds for anyone's true colors to really shine. And, you may think that the person that you thought was like who they were, and then something happens and then it's like you're seeing a completely different side of them, and it's like, yo, like that's not who I thought you were. And then the way that you behaved in this specific situation is really showing me your true colors, and that in itself is like making this whole dynamic of the relationship change. And it's going to change the way that you guys are going to interact with each other, the things that you guys are going to talk about, how they're going to like support you, and all the things. Like it's so important to be mindful of the people that you have in your circle, because just because somebody like appears one way on the outside doesn't mean that that's who they are through and through. And it's always going to take those situations that are like the hardest for you or for them, something that's really going to test the limits of like your friendship or whatever kind of relationship that you have with that person, that's going to define like if who they presented to you is really who they are, or if like it's been a mask this whole time. And it's going to change the relationship, either for the better or for the worse. And that, I think, is also kind of a gateway to really building or possibly even eliminating the kind of limiting beliefs that you are then going to learn to adopt or remove from your narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. You dropped so many gems in here, and so many gems, because I mean that's really what you're saying. I'm hearing is it's ego versus trigger work versus like who someone is at their most vulnerable part. Like the ego is who they present themselves to be to you, and so they want you to, of course, they're gonna put their best foot forward. They want you to like them, so they're out here trying to impress you. But then if you run across one of their triggers, Lord forbid it's both of y'all triggers, and now everybody's blowing up and responding in ways that they, really wouldn't do on a regular day. But you got to remember not to take anything personal, because people respond in a way that they think is going to best benefit them. It's going to protect them. They're not trying to hurt you. You stepped on a really sensitive, you poked a wound for them that they hadn't been able to let heal, and it exposed their most vulnerable part. And they were taught that being that vulnerable person is a dangerous thing to do. And so now they're out here being crazy, trying to protect themselves from that pain that they think you're going to cause. But it's because they don't realize that they're not that child anymore. They're not in that unsafe environment. Maybe you are a trustworthy person, you won't hurt them, and you would be there to support them, but they are too afraid to even give you that opportunity to do so. So I love that, because that's ego versus unexpected triggers. I call them landmines in the dark, because you don't know that they're there and they don't know that they're there. You just trip on them and now they explode. And then that part of you. Yeah.
Ooh, that was a good one. That was deep. Landmines in the dark. Oh gosh. All righty. So the first one that I want to discuss, which I think is one that we all at some point in time in our life, like it's something we all believe to be true about ourselves. And of course, this varies like based off of situations, the circumstances, the individual environments and stuff like that. But it's the limiting belief that I am a failure.
Yeah.
The idea that even I feel like in a lot of cases that I've witnessed, I've seen people adopt this belief before they've even tried to do something. And it's more so, out of the fear of trying, because you already put that idea in your head that you're going to fail no matter what. Why do we have this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Like, help me understand, because I don't be knowing how to like tell people you gotta try before you fail. And even then it's about failing forward. It's not even about like failing because you just suck. It's about failing because you did something wrong that you got to learn from, and then you got to change the way you approach it to try again until you get to where you want to go. So why do we have this limiting belief that I am a failure? Where does it come from? And you know, what can we do to change that narrative?
Okay, so that's an amazing one. You're right. It is extremely common. A lot of people have that fear of failure. And so it could come from a variety of places. And okay, you guys, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I'm going to relate most things to childhood because I assure you that's where most things are born. They get supported along the way because when you have certain beliefs, you'll definitely attract things into your life that support that belief. So you'll have the original wound, and then you'll have different instances which you're like, well, you can pull out and say, well, I did fail here, I did fail there. And so for me, I would say that the fear of failure comes from trying something as a child and then either being ridiculed, criticized, or somebody confirmed, like, of course you couldn't do that. I mean, why would you be able to? Or I told you that you were going to fail, or I tried it myself. I was just trying to protect you from failure. But you see what happens when you did against what I said anyway. And so that will really stay with you because now you're like, oh, not only did I fail, but like my family sees me as a failure. I'm obviously labeled as a failure. Like I can't even try. There's no point for me to do it again because I know I'm going to be disappointed. Right. And then that comes with you. And then, like you said, when you got those limiting beliefs, those invisible prison bars where you're holding yourself under that glass ceiling, you're like, okay, well, I could try. It's just like when people, for example, trying to lose weight. I'm going to start this workout routine. And then 3 days in, they quit,
Right.
and they blame it on other stuff. Well, I got tired, I was sore, but really they already expect that they're going to fail. So they don't even want to try because they want to avoid that pain and that disappointment at any cost. And it's nothing personal that they did wrong. If you're someone that relates with that, I relate with that. It's not something that you did wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. It's literally the thoughts that you told yourself that were true because of the experience that you've had. And so it's also about perspective too, like you said, like failing forward. If you're going to have a negative mindset about it, like I failed, obviously I don't have what it takes, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not valuable enough, I'm not smart enough, the list can go on and on with criticism. But when you build that up, of course, you're not going to be encouraged to try it again. But when you look at the bright side, maybe it wasn't as successful as I intended it to be, but I did learn X, Y, and Z new things. Now that I've done it the first time, I'm actually more wise, I'm more knowledgeable, I'm more prepared. If I'm really being honest, I was actually more naive the first time around because I had never done it. I'm not as naive anymore. I'm actually a little bit seasoned now. So when I do it this time, I may not get the same success that I want, but I promise you I'm going to make it farther. And then I'm not going to quit. So I'm going to try it again and I'm going to make it farther, and then that's how you succeed. And so if you treat failures not as failures, but as obstacles that are like stepping stones that are taking you higher and higher and higher, elevating you, it can help you to start shifting and changing the way that you look at failure and how the role that it plays in your life. And I love affirmation. So that would be a really good place to stick affirmations in to say, I don't quit, or I learn every time I attempt something, or the more that I try, the better I become. The more that I take a risk or walk into the unknown, the more prepared I am, or the more I open myself up to receive success, or I'm receiving success every time I attempt something new, or something like that. And tell yourself that every day until that becomes a belief, and that'll help you to move forward.
I love that. I think you said that really stood out to me, was the fact that it kind of all does root back to our childhood. And then you just have supports along the way that are just reinforcing that belief about yourself. And I mean, the minute you said that, like my mind instantly went back to like one of the first professions that I swore on my life that I was going to have. But I didn't have the support that I wanted from my parents to be able to do it. And I'm sure for them there were like a ton of reasons why. I was also very, very young, asking for something that they probably just did not believe was appropriate for me at the time. And it was that idea of that, like, it's like, I know that I'm good at this. I know that I can do it. I know that it's like something that I actually want, but they didn't believe it as well, which kind of made me adopt that belief that it's like, yo, maybe I'm not like really good at it. Maybe, my parents are seeing the truth about me and what I want to do. And they're just like trying to let me down easy instead of just coming out and being like, you suck at it. which I don't. I just want to like make that very clear that I don't. But it took me a really long time, and I carried that idea, that belief with me for a really long time, because I just never understood why my parents wouldn't give me the opportunity to even try. And it was, that limiting belief for myself really, it started in my childhood. And then like as I got older and you explore more, you learn more about yourself, you take an interest in more things, then I started to really beat myself up, because it was like I used to love this so much, and then it's like now I'm just kind of letting it go to fade away, because maybe I didn't love it as much as I do. And it's like, it's not that I didn't love it. It was just that over the years, the more that I asked for it, the more that my parents denied me it, the more I started to believe that it's not something for me. It's not what I want. It's not what I'm good at. Like it was just a phase. And it's not. It was just the fact that my parents were not supportive of it, that their lack of support for me and wanting that was supporting that limiting belief as I had gotten older, about the fact that I wasn't worthy of it. And I think it's so important for us to really, like, again, not to like kind of take it all back to the childhood, but I think it's so important for us to really understand where we came from, the type of people that we grew up with, the type of influences that we had looking up to, and how that really shaped our confidence. Because at the end of the day, I feel like one of the key factors to why limiting beliefs exist within individuals is because there's a lack of confidence in yourself about something very particular in your life. And that's essentially what is forming that limiting belief. Saying I'm a failure is coming from a lack of confidence about your ability to do something. If you like to lose weight, you want to lose weight, you set that goal, you work at it for a little bit, and then you just stop, and you have all these excuses as to why you do it. It's not because you're incapable, it's because you already set yourself up to believe that you couldn't do it. And maybe that, like you said, it came from something in your childhood, or maybe it was just an experience that you had in the past.
Sometimes people get really locked in on one example and they're like, well, that didn't happen to me. I don't have emotional trauma, like nothing, nobody beat me, nobody kicked me down when I was a baby. But sometimes there's other things that at the time you might not even think are really substantial, but still stick with you, And sometimes
Yeah.
things so much where your brain thinks to protect you, where you lose memories. And then you become an adult and you're like, I don't remember anyone doing this to me. But as you start to heal, more memories start to be uncovered. And you're like, holy crap, I had completely forgot about those whole 2 years of my life. I didn't even know that was an issue for me at all. So that teaches you maybe my thoughts and beliefs don't matter. Maybe my thoughts and beliefs don't count. Maybe life is really all about what everybody else thinks, because no one seems to care about what I think. And so that's a
Right.
whole other belief in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the trap. The trap of letting others' opinions have more value than what you believe to be true about yourself. That is the trap right there.
Yeah, but you got to know what you believe about yourself too, because sometimes people, they will say what they don't want. Don't say that about me. That's not true. But they don't know what they are either. They don't know the value that they hold or the worthiness that they are, because they've never seen it. But so I like to tell my clients, I mean, don't tell me what the problems are. Don't tell me what you don't want. I want to hear what you do want. Who are you? That's what I want to know. And then you treat yourself how you feel like you deserve to be treated. You love yourself the way that you need to be loved, and then other people will adjust accordingly. Either they'll adjust or they'll have to hop up out of your life. I mean, there's only two options.
Right. Girl, we are right here. Like, we are right here. And that was like a perfect segue into like my next one that I have, which I also feel like it's a common one for a lot of people, especially for women, which is why for me personally, it is so important for my work to be directly like impacted by and through women. That belief that I'm unworthy, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough for something. You know, it, it's such a heavy one, because it's like you said, that really speaks volumes about how you see yourself and what you know or do not know to be true about who you are at your core. And that's again where the trap door of allowing others people's opinions to have more value over the beliefs that you have about yourself, that's when that gets activated. That idea that you tell yourself I'm not worthy, and then it's like a light switch. I'm not worthy, turn the light switch on, and everyone else's opinions come flooding in. And then it's like you just take that on because it supports that idea that you're just not good enough. Why would I fight against it if it's already like there's all this proof that's saying you're right, you're not good enough, and this is why you're not good enough? Why would I fight against that? It's so much easier to go with the proof than to try to disprove something. So why do we have that limiting belief about ourselves, especially women? I would love to hear like your take about why you think women specifically have that belief and carry it for so many years that they're unworthy, they're not good enough. Where does it come from? Why do we have it? And what is something we can do to change that?
So that is a whole segment. That's literally what I base my coaching on. Like that's the root of the coaching, is to help women to understand their worth and their value and how it affects their life in every single area of their life. There's no place in your life that's untouched by the limiting beliefs that are grown and nurtured based off of you not thinking that you're worthy or valued. Um,
Yes.
listen, I had a thought, but this my statement didn't even get the thought. But okay, so here's a couple things. Oh no, here it is. It's society. For women specifically, no offense to the guys, but for women specifically, not only do you have like the matriarchy, patriarchy, where you have the father that's the one that's the leader, the breadwinner, you have this, and then it's on TV. You see that the man is the one that's in charge and the woman is the one that's like subservient and like catering, et cetera, et cetera. So you're watching TV, you're hearing that. If you grew up in a two-parent household or a single mom household, depending, it's going to show you a different view on how the man is the one that's important. Because I grew up in a single parent household, but my mother had many boyfriends. She's been married a few times. And so I was able to watch her and to see, oh, she's supposed to make their plates. Oh, they're not supposed to get up. She's the one that's going to get all their drinks. She looks tired, but I guess she doesn't care. So maybe that I'm not supposed to care either. Maybe I'm supposed to cater until I'm tired because that's a woman's role. And then you have political side. You have the president being a man, the higher places of law being men making the decisions, even in other cultures where women, like in some cultures, women aren't even allowed to have a certain number of children. They don't have that, placement on men. The women are the one that pay the price. And so not only do you have your family dynamic for that one, you also have the social and societal programming that comes into play. You also have the music that's on the radio that you're listening to when they talk about women in a degrading manner. And don't get me wrong, I listen to all sorts of music, but there's some stuff that I just can't listen to because what you hear, it becomes real. Your thoughts becomes your beliefs. And so when you're seeing everything around you telling you that you're a woman, and because of that fact alone, don't even get into color of skin, you being a woman period makes you less than. It means you have to work twice as hard to get half of what a man has. That's what they say. And growing up, my aunt would tell me that all the time. You got to work twice as hard, girl. Okay, you're only going to get half, but it's okay because whatever reason why it's okay. And so that in itself is already a really tough thing. And then, like you said, you also have young kids too. You have bullying, you have family members, environmental factors. They're projecting on you because they don't believe in themselves. And so when they see you shining, they're like, oh, let me remind her. Like, she must not know that she's not hot stuff. Let me go over there and tell her because I love her. And I don't want her to be disappointed the way that I was disappointed in my past. And so that all of that is why vulnerability and worthiness and value for women is like a really deep seated issue. And then here's the other part is that when you try to break out of it, when you're like, all right, well, I'm going to start taking care of myself. I'm going to put myself first, and I'm going to really, really grab hold of this idea that I am worth something and that I'm important. But when you do that as a woman, that's when society comes in and they're like, who are you? Like, are you selfish? Like, why are
Girl.
you being so self-centered? Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, you're a jerk. Pretty much, she's a nasty bee. And, she's got
Right.
attitude problems because she's caring about herself and she's putting herself first. And that by itself will shut women down all over again because they're like, oh, I don't want people to perceive me as mean, as bad, as a jerk, like I'm not pleasant. And so one way to get past that, I mean, there's a lot of work and activities to do, but once you really start getting into it, you really have to learn how to depend on yourself for that validation. And regardless of religion, doesn't matter what religion you are, if you do believe in any sort of higher source, period, okay, source, universe, God, whatever it is, you need to know that you were made perfectly. and that you were put on the planet the way that you're supposed to be, with all the tools and tips and strategies and everything that you needed inside your toolbox to be as amazing as you want to be. You won't desire something in your mind if it wasn't meant for you. That's why we all can't envision everything. Somebody might want to go out here and be a world class tennis player. I don't want to be a world class tennis player. I can't envision it. And so it's not for me. You know what I'm saying? So you know, what you can imagine is literally for you, and there's nothing that can stop you from having that. And so once you realize that you're 100% made perfectly, it doesn't matter what anybody else says about you. You'll realize I don't have to take it personal. Everybody projects their own stuff on the people. I hear you, buddy, but actually it's not my business what you think about me. You're free to think what you want, because I know what I know. There's no need for me to defend myself or to like get on your case or to argue with you, because what's true is true is true. Whether you believe it or not, it's still true. It doesn't change it. And I find that that really, really helps with increasing that self-worth and that self-value.
Right. Oh my God. I love everything you just said. You know, there are three things that I do really want to like drive home with everybody, you know, and these are things that I always tell my clients and my audiences everywhere. There will only ever be one you. So don't worry about the opinions of other people. We're human. They're going to get to us from time to time, but do not let them speak your truth for you. What is for you will always be for you, no matter when you get it or how you get it. It's yours, your name is on it, no one can take it away from you. And then if there are things that do not align with you, do not feel sorry and being truthful and honest about that. And instead, you know, instead of letting those negative beliefs like hang and weigh on you and make you feel bad about being the way you are, find the strength in that to empower yourself and then other people to be like, hey, if it's not you, it's not you, and don't feel bad about it, and most certainly do not apologize about it. Just live your truth. Be the most authentic version of you. That's all that you can ever be.
That makes absolute sense to me, because you just interacting with other people, especially the one about the opinions, you guys, like I can't even go in enough about other people's opinions, because they are trying to help you. So when they're doing that, they're not doing it because they hate you. They're doing it because
Yeah.
like, oh man, you know, I love this person so much, and they're going to grow up and go into the world, and I want them to be ready. This is what's going to be expected of them. So the best way that I know how to protect them and to prepare them for what's to come is to teach them what I know. And so it's still their fault. You don't, I'm not giving them any credit. It's still their fault, but that's why they do what they do. But I love that, you know, you have to eventually take a stand and say, you know what do I believe? Like, how am I different from what they're doing? And how does it feel? I love when you said, how does it feel to me? Because at this point in my life, I'm only chasing things that make me feel peaceful, that make me feel.
Amen to that.
No, because how many times have we been in a situation where we know we feel uncomfortable, but we still stay there? We still participate in it because we feel obligated or pressured. I can think of many times when I was sitting in a room where I wanted to leave, but I didn't, because I didn't know how. I thought I couldn't. You know, I thought I didn't have any other options. And so that's the main thing that I love about empowerment, is because it gives you choices.
Yes.
Choices.
Yes, I love that. All right. So our next one is, I feel like this kind of tethers on the confidence too, but that limiting belief that people don't see me. And I hear a lot of people say this a lot of the times, and you know, it took me a really long time to kind of understand like what they meant by it, like where it was really coming from. But you know, and you could, you know, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when people say that, you know, they're like, people don't see me, people don't notice me, I don't do this because, you know, I'm not going to get noticed anyway, or you know, I don't want to attend this party because, you know, what for, I'm just going to fall in the background. It's not like, you know, anyone's going to notice me and then like, you know, actually make me feel welcomed and like I'm actually a part of something. You know, I feel like that belief comes from the idea that you just, you don't see yourself. I don't know if that's the like where that belief comes from. I don't know if that's exactly what it means. So please share with us, where does that come from and what can we do to, you know, not hold that belief about ourselves.
So that's another like really big one. And you summarized it beautifully. I mean, you really did. I mean, there's just so many different ways. So not being, feeling like you're not going to be seen, that's like you explained it, it's self-sabotage. It's like, let me go ahead and just go ahead and cancel this out so that I don't have to be disappointed because I expect people to reject me. Like they're not
Right.
going to see me. I expect to be rejected. I'm used to being rejected. Why would now be any different from any time in my past where I've been rejected on multiple occasions? And so, in order to protect myself from even having to step out on faith or get uncomfortable, I just won't even put myself in that position. I won't give my opportunity. I won't give myself an opportunity to show myself some different evidence. It took me 2 years, like literally from consciously being aware that I was disempowered, because before that, I thought I was doing pretty good. I'm like, I love myself. I look in the mirror every day. I look pretty good. Okay, I got my new clothes. I look great. I feel great. But I didn't realize that I wasn't treating myself like I had value. And so when other people would treat me like I didn't have value, I would be offended by their behaviors. Like, how could you, how dare you have the audacity to treat me this way without realizing, well, sir, what are you doing that shows you that you love you? Like, are you taking out time? Not like, taking the bubble bath, but I'm talking about literally like, are you working out? Are you taking mental breaks? Are you resting when you need it? How do you accept the behaviors of other people? If someone talks down to you, are you just like, oh, it's okay, they're having a bad day? Or are you like assertive, like, hey, what you said was not acceptable and you can't talk to me like that.
Right.
And if you're not willing to do something different, then we're not going to be able to do this anymore. And those are some of the things, and it takes time. Limiting beliefs, the sad thing about it, which isn't really sad because I think of triggers as gifts, right? But limiting beliefs can be layers on top of layers, like a cabbage of some sorts. And you're like hidden at the bottom because you didn't know that they were there. They're subtle, they're kind of creepy, they're just like invisible, and they're integrated where you really believe that they're true, to the point where you would argue with someone. Like denialists don't even notice that I'm lying to myself. So you're just talking, and what you say, you feel confident, but you don't even realize that what you're saying, it's not really supporting the beliefs, the words and the beliefs, the actions, they don't align up and they don't match. And so to deal with that, I would say to deal with the relationship, starting with your mom and your dad, or whoever your guardians were, the most high status people that are around you. The relationships, like, what did you learn from them? What did you learn from them about being a woman? What did you learn about the role of a man? What did you learn about how to get your needs met emotionally? What did you learn about confidence? What did you learn about, sex, religion, your role in the world, how important you are? Are you special? Do you have any gifts or skills or abilities? Or your thought process when you come up with ideas, did they support your ideas? Did they shoot you down? Did they criticize you? Did they pick you up? And so all of these things, in the way that you stand, in the way that you think about them right now, definitely affect all those different areas of your life, and they affect the way that you view yourself and where you gauge yourself on that scale. And so I would, like, if somebody's like, well, I don't know if I value myself or not, how did the people around you today treat you? Because
Right.
you attract people that mirror you. And so if those people are treating you in a way that makes you feel like the energy is reciprocated, you give, they give back, y'all are like, great, that's amazing. But if you're like giving and you feel drained, like, I do so much for everybody, but they're not meeting me halfway, it's because that's that undervalue of what you're allowing into your life. Does that make
Right. Yeah, I love that. And one thing I want to add to that, which is also why like I push for self-care so hard, is because everything, relationships, everything you do, it's all energy. And that energy has to be recharged in some way. And for me personally, and things that, that I really try to, preach with my clients and, other people, is that you have to take that time to engage in some form of self-care. You have to recharge yourself in some way. Otherwise, it's like you're pouring from an empty cup. And when you're pouring from an empty cup, that's exactly the kind of energy you're going to get back from people. Are people who are like pouring from an empty cup. So that's why they're not meeting you halfway, because they've got nothing to give, and you're continuously giving from an empty, cup. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't have nothing to give either. And it's like you said, it's just the energies are matching each other. You're not like overcoming anything, or you're not like, meeting people who are your matching. You're connecting with people who are matching the energy that you want to bring, and the energy that you kind of have to offer, because you're pouring from an empty cup. So not only is it like very important, which I also love that you said that, to look at the people who are in your life, and examine that relationship that you have with them, and take ownership of the things that you receive from them, whether that's, your confidence, your belief in whatever it is you believe in, the way you carry yourself, the things you believe to be true about yourself. Not only look to those people and take ownership of what you got from them, but also really take the responsibility upon yourself to make sure that you are taking the time to recharge yourself, so that you have so much more to give.
I love that. Listen, if I could give you like 17 gold stars, because accountability, like that's the other piece is the accountability. Because yes, nobody can control the hand they were dealt as children. But
Right.
when you become an adult and you start noticing and becoming aware of these reoccurring cycles and patterns that you're in, it's your job to say, all right, well, what am I doing that's supporting this? Because maybe it hurt, but I'm still here. So I'm getting something from it. And what's the benefit from it that I'm getting? Is it filling a void? Is it making me feel worthy? Like, am I gauging how important I am based on this relationship and this interaction with this person, even if they aren't treating me that good? Is it a band-aid of sorts in some area? And then once you're able to identify that, you're really able to take that control over how you're presenting yourself in different situations.
Right. Yes. Accountability is so important. Okay. So this next one, I've only ever known it as a phrase. And it wasn't until recently when I started to realize that it's more than just a phrase. It's like a limiting belief in the sense that, you kind of already set yourself up for failure before you even have a chance to essentially fail. And that's the belief that, when people say, it's just my luck, and like I said, I've always known as a phrase, like maybe like you go to the grocery store and then you come out and there's a ticket on your car and you're just like, oh, that's just my luck. I just thought it was always just a phrase. And it wasn't until recently when, I really took the time to kind of, dissect what that really meant. And it's like, it's not just your luck. It's the fact that you kind of set yourself up for failure before you even had a chance to possibly fail. Where does this come from? Why do we do it to ourselves? And how can we like not take like the little things that happen to us, whether they're like, no matter how big of a problem they may be, like something as simple as getting a ticket, or maybe, like you end up losing your house because of X, Y, and Z, that you're not taking accountability that, that was on your part of why this happened. How can we take that idea, or that limiting belief and, not make it come across as if like it's just my luck, because like it's just my luck, I just suck like that, and of course something like this would happen to me, and more so, take ownership of why it happened to you.
So that's like a two-part thing. So first part is critical self-talk is a really common thing, right? It's just because, again, it all ties back into worthiness or things that people have said to you or experiences that you've had where you deemed an attempt at trying something and you didn't get the result that you were looking for, and you're like, huh, I'm a failure. Let's wrap that thing up. But when people say that's just my luck, it's to support, like we talked about earlier, it's to support the beliefs that they have on their past that they're not good enough, or there's no way that they can succeed, or of course they're going to fail because they're not worthy of whatever it is, that the reward that they're trying to obtain. I
Right.
would say to work on that for sure is, affirmations, you guys. And some people are like, I don't want to do affirmations. That's so woo woo. But since thoughts are beliefs, the way that you reprogram your mind to see things in a positive light, it changes up everything. It literally changes the way that you view the world, the way that you view yourself, the way that you view opportunities and potential opportunities. Because if you look at things with that negative light, let's say you did get a ticket and you're like, holy crap, now my day's all messed up. I got this ticket. I can't believe it. But lo and behold, you don't even realize because you got that ticket, you ended up meeting and making a new connection with someone that opened up a door for a new opportunity. Because sometimes things just happen that way. It's not to beat you down. It's usually to take you higher and to make you grow and to expand yourself. Especially if something triggers you, it's just showing you that there's a place in you that needs to heal so that you can become stronger, wiser, more knowledgeable, and spread your wings. You know what I'm saying? Shine brighter.
So I know you have to go. We're gonna wrap this up here. So before you leave though, just let everyone know, where they can reach you, how they can get in contact with you if, they would love to be able to work and engage with you.
Yay, yes, for sure, you guys. Again, I'm a women's empowerment and mindset coach. And so I have a coaching program called Power Reclaimed, and it's all about helping women that aren't sure of their worth and their value to help them to rebuild that, to help them to look at those limiting beliefs and that self-sabotaging ways, and then to help you to create the life that you desire and to become the woman that you have always been, reclaim that power and make those choices that are going to benefit you. And so you can find me on Facebook at Sarah Lynnette. My business page is Let Her Free, and then also on Instagram at Coach Sarah Lynnette. And so I'd love to hear from you, or even jump on a call, whether you join the program or not. We can still talk about how to overcome some of those blockages so that you can move more freely and move more confidently through life.
Awesome, sweet. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Sarah. I hope we can have more conversations about this in the future. I really enjoyed it. I learned so much, and I just love the work that you're doing and the way that you are choosing to share your message with the world, and especially women. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back on here and talking with you. You asked some really amazing questions.
Awesome.
Bye,
Sweet.
guys.
All
Thank you
right.
for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.